My name is Weir, and this project is it's an urban beehive with the aim to make the whole prospect of keeping bees less daunting and more attractive. The main selling point of the beehive is that beginners and to some extent more accomplished beehive keepers can view the bees without basically getting into the nitty-gritty of the hive, without disturbing the bees as much and without putting all the kit on. As far as product development goes, aesthetically I'm quite happy with the stage I'm at. The evaluations have led me to come up with this visual. I believe it's quite fun, approachable design and less daunting. Does not necessarily look like a traditional beehive. The texture of the final finish for the scale model is nearly there. A few more layers of paint and I'm happy with that. Technology-wise, I've got to a point where I've got enough technology embedded that I can carry out a meaningful evaluation. But if that was to go into mass manufacture, a lot more would have to be thought about that side of the project. At the moment, the technology involved in the product is a wireless camera and a temperature sensor that transmits wirelessly to someone's home PC or smart device, transmitting the video stream of inside the hive. The evaluation has led to certain aspects being pointed out, things like humidity sensors, things like that, and more of a graphic representation of what's going on in the hive. So that's something that would be developed further before mass manufacture. The aesthetic prototype is purely, as it says on the tin, it's to get the visuals across to a consumer, to possibly a manufacturer, someone to take on the product. Because it has been rapid prototype, most of the details inside are as it would be if it was mass produced. The functional full scale model is a lot more to get a feel for the full size of it, how it's used, and a lot more user interaction and user testing. We tested the functional model with a number of friends and colleagues just to get a feel for the size, and was it too small, too big, were the frames easy to lift up, things like that, and they were all developed on and considered for the final design.
We tested it with bees?
And not with bees. So to get a bee's point of view, an expert was contacted and they were shown the aesthetic model and they were asked would bees live comfortably in this environment, and thankfully she agreed and they would. Electronics is mainly involved in the functional model. It was initially thought that these electronics were going to be made almost from scratch, different components brought in and wired up and etc. But it was soon established that this would take too long and not necessarily suit my skill base. So it was decided that these were going to be bought in from outside and then wired up off the shelf basically. From the electronics point of view, the research led that people kind of want a stream to view it online like people do with birdhouses, things like that. So it was soon established that any of the camera, the other electronics things weren't necessarily as thought after as the camera. So from my point of view, to get a good evaluation and get a good user test, and all I needed was a camera. I knew it needed to be a night vision camera and wirelessly, because this is going to be in the garden, and if someone wants to view it on the go, they can do so. And it was established that through the evaluation, I needed this to do such a job to get this point of view across. I didn't necessarily need the way it looked, the wires hidden, things like that. I just needed the raw products so I could evaluate it, and to save time, to save money, and again looking at the degree criteria, it was just decided to buy them in. Okay, electronics, initially it was set out to be quite a big portion of my time because I wanted to get that element was the really unique part of a beehive that's not really done, you know, commercially. But it turned out not to be a lot smaller chunk because other things developed. There's mechanical aspects, the aesthetic aspects, really kind of developed into a bigger problem for me. So I realised I had to spend more time on them. So it was chopping and change between the two, and electronics kind of fell behind, and luckily I could buy the products in, so it wasn't too much of a task. There's a wireless infrared camera and a wireless receiver. So them two, say, were already bought in, and a program was downloaded called One Channel, which could link the two and show a display on the screen. This can now link to a Gmail account, so people on the go can get a live feed through their Gmail account onto their phone or mobile device. Reducing the time spent on electronics really helped me focus on the aesthetic look and appeal of the product, as well as the way the user interacts with it. Because there's so many beehives on the market at the moment, it was really important for me to get something that was both commercial and unique. And the extra time spent in these areas was really beneficial in the pursuit to get a really fun, approachable looking product. By buying off-the-shelf products, I believe I compromised slightly on the functionality, in the sense that initially I wanted the temperature to be sent digitally to a device, but because they bought off-the-shelf products, I decided to have the temperature displayed actually on the hive, so the camera was to zoom in on this figure and it was transmitted through the video feed rather than digitally. I still get the same effect end product for my evaluation and my user testing, but it's just come in probably a different way than I first anticipated. Initially, the electronics aspect of the project seemed quite daunting from my experience, my background. I'm a lot more comfortable and suited to solving the aesthetic problems rather than less experienced in the electronics side of things. I'd say the electronics was daunting for the sheer fact that I researched it, and the inclusion of Bluetooth transmitters, wireless things, and winding all these up in one solid unit, battery powers, all these things, these different components. It wasn't only getting more complicated technically, but the price was going up and up and up, and it just seemed logical to me to buy it off the shelf. On reflection, I feel really happy with the choices I made, because it was almost a blessing in disguise that other problems came about later on in the project. So that time saved on electronics has really given me that extra little bit of time to focus on other problems that arise. And through my evaluations, speaking to experts in the area, I feel quite happy with the overall result. If I was to have my time again, the main thing I'd change, not necessarily the end product, but is the way I went about how the user interacts with the hive. Because the end result was really quite simple, straightforward, and almost quite obvious. And it did take me a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of sketching, thinking, brainstorming, and how the user is actually going to use this product. And if I had my time again, I'd probably take a step back from that side of it and not focus too much on it, and let that decision kind of evolve, rather than kind of forcing for that unique aspect. From an electronics point of view, I'm really happy with the decisions I made. I don't think I would change anything if I had my time again. If I had more time, I guess I would try and do the things I set out from the start, but due to certain time constraints, that wasn't possible. Prior to university, I had no experience in dealing with electronics, things like that. And it was university was the first time I ever dealt with electronics, to be fair. This is the Herb. It's an Urban Beehive. The main unique selling point of this beehive is that the user can interact with it without getting all suited up like traditional beekeepers. The user can insert this lifting arm over the frame, twist like so, and raise it up. This allows them to view the honeycomb, the bees inside, allows them to inspect the state of the hive, and it's also a good chance to get a social and educational aspect across. It's perfect for schools, things like that. This model also has a wireless infrared camera in it that transmits to a home PC or a smartphone. And this functional model is really aimed at getting the size and the feel that really user interface, across. The aesthetic model here was to get across the more aesthetic feel of it. It was important to me to design a friendly, approachable object that wasn't necessarily a beehive from the go. People could look at it and see, oh, I wonder what that is. It's not necessarily a beehive. A lot of people are scared of bees, keeping bees, so it's important to get that message across.